There are places in history where humanity has hit the bottom of the abyss, where every certainty collapsed, where every hope froze together with the bodies. Stalingrad is one of these places. Not a simple battle, but a slaughterhouse. A city turned into an open-air cemetery where hundreds of thousands of men were shredded, frozen, forgotten. What you are about to hear are not historical reconstructions. They are authentic words. Letters written by German soldiers of the Sixth Army, trapped in the Soviet encirclement between November 1942 and February 1943. Letters confiscated by the German command, censored, hidden for decades. Letters that should have reached wives, mothers, fathers, children, but never did. They were discovered in military archives after the war, published in the collection The Last Letters from Stalingrad. And they are among the rawest, most honest, and most devastating documents ever written about the Second World War. These are not propaganda words. Here is only the naked truth of men who knew they were doomed, who wrote in darkness, with the cold penetrating their bones, with hunger devouring them, with death knocking every second at the door. Let us prepare to hear the sad words of voices that even today can touch us deeply. First letter. Ludwig farewell to his wife. This letter belongs to one of the most heartbreaking documents in the collection. It was written by a soldier named Ludwig to his beloved Martha. His wife waited for him at home with their small child. Ludwig never returned. The letter was found in his uniform after his body was recovered from the ruins. My beloved Martha, today I received your last letter. It tightened my heart. You wrote that you were waiting for me with our child in your arms. I wanted to reply with tender words, with phrases that could bring you light, but I cannot anymore. The air here has become the very substance of death. There is no more light for my lungs to breathe. Stalingrad is not simply no man's land. It is a slaughterhouse without pause. Each night, the artillery fire tears through the walls. The cold has a voice of its own. It seeps into our helmets, digs under the skin, and never goes away. It steals the little that remains of us, our voices, our memories, our faith. I tried to cheat fate, telling myself I could still resist. Then I spat it out. How can one resist when even the fingers feel nothing? If I die, I do not want to be remembered as a hero. Remember instead the man who loved you beyond duty, and who, if he felt fear, felt it only for you and our little one. Do not worry about me. I want you to remember that I loved you as I never loved anything else in the world. Keep this letter near the alarm clock so you will know that once I existed, even if only as a memory. And if I should vanish into ashes, do not let my absence break you. For there, where you are now, was my true home, and it will always be. Farewell, my light, your Ludwig. Second letter. To his priest father. The following is an authentic letter from the collection written by an unknown German soldier. It was addressed to his father, a priest, in a moment of total despair. Letters of this kind were confiscated by the German command during the siege as part of an effort to measure troop morale. Decades later, they came to light as a historical counterpoint to victory propaganda. Dear Father, I must say this, and I write it with double pain. You raised me without a mother, instilling God in my eyes and heart. And now I find myself forced to confess, perhaps for the last time. After these words, I will have no chance to speak others that could redeem or excuse what follows. I sought God in every shell crater, in every house moaning under fire, in every corner, among comrades sunk in their trenches. I sought him in the sky with desperation, but he was not there. Father, God does not exist here, and I write this with a broken soul. I form sentences trying to grasp a meaning, but all I find is ashes. It is not that I do not want to believe. It is that I cannot find a body in which to see him. Houses have been reduced to dust. My comrades have turned to dust. Rage, murder, fire, and bombs fall from the sky, but God is not there. At first I could not believe it. I thought it was a test, a passing shadow. But here eternity is measured in seconds. And this letter, if it ever reaches you, will be the last truth I can share. I do not write with hope. I write so you may know I have vanished living this war. I have done nothing but die slowly with pain and without faith. Your son. Third letter, to his mother. This was written by a young soldier of the 6th Army during the last days of the Stalingrad encirclement. Like many others, it was confiscated by the German command and never reached its destination. Decades later, it was published, becoming one of the most sincere farewells preserved from the Second World War. Dear Mother, if you ever read this, it means I did not manage to return. I do not know if this letter will ever reach you, but I feel I must write, even if only to the wind, to be able to resist a little longer. These last days have been cold, not only because of the weather, but also deeply inside. I struggle to sleep. There is no peace in mind, nor in body. For 3 days we have eaten nothing warm, and last night we buried Eric, my childhood friend. He was shot in the neck while gathering firewood. I swear, I tried to save him. I crawled beside him, but he only looked at me and said, "Do not cry. I am already with my mother." And he smiled. It was the saddest thing I have ever seen, and at the same time, the most human. I want you to know that I often thought of you, of our walks, the soup you prepared, how you covered my feet when it was cold. The cold here is endless, and no one covers anyone. But I remembered you so intensely that for a moment I felt warmth. It was real. Do not let yourself grieve. If I must die, at least I know I fought with everything I had, that I was not a coward, that I took care of my comrades, and that until the last moment I wish to hold you once more in my arms. Keep this letter in your heart, Mother. I have no other way to return. I have nothing left but these words. With eternal love, your son. The Diary of Karl Müller, The Descent into Hell. Karl Müller was an infantry soldier of the 297th Infantry Division assigned to the German 6th Army during the Battle of Stalingrad. He was sent to the southern sector of the city at the end of 1942. He was part of the units that resisted the Soviet siege under extreme conditions. His diary, found in his uniform after the army's surrender, describes with unbearable cruelty the horrors of the encirclement, the disintegration of military life, and the physical and psychological collapse of trapped soldiers. Everything we ate today was a strip of boiled leather and a piece of moldy, hardened bread. We got water by melting dirty snow on the lids of ammunition boxes, and yet I consider myself lucky. 3 comrades died yesterday with empty stomachs and mouths full of blood. One of them, Kurt, had not spoken a word in the last 72 hours. When he fell to his knees, no one went to help him. We simply watched him collapse in silence, as if he had already become part of the landscape. Stalingrad is not a city. It is a body-grinding machine, a dead zone of concrete smoke and screams. The enemy is less than 20 meters away, hidden in the same ruins we occupy. Sometimes we hear them cough, speak, curse. Other times we spend entire days throwing grenades from one floor to another, as if playing a game whose rules no one remembers. The last letter I wrote home is sewn inside my jacket. I never had the courage to send it. The ink froze halfway through a sentence. It began with, "Dear Mara," but now I no longer know if that name belongs to someone real, or if it is just a blurred image my mind created to remind me I once was human. Yesterday we marched for 4 hours across ice and mud looking for a supply line that no longer exists. The horses have long been eaten. A sergeant shot a soldier who tried to steal the last iron ration bar. There was no trial. No one spoke of it. We simply kept walking. Our boots sank to our ankles, and each step sounded as if something inside the body was breaking. During bombings, we hide in pits full of corpses. The stench no longer affects us. Bodies have become part of the environment. A comrade told me he saw another tear the hand off a corpse to take its glove. I didn't doubt it. There are no more codes, nor values, nor army, only fragments of meat full of fear trying not to die during their watch. I lost half my platoon in the last defense of the factory. The roof collapsed after a mortar hit, burying 7 men. One of them screamed for hours under the rubble until his voice went out. Sometimes, when I cannot sleep, I still hear him. The cold creeps into the nape and runs down the spine. We urinate blood. Our hands are black. A soldier tried to amputate his fingers with a bayonet, not out of desperation, but calculation. He preferred to lose them rather than see them rot inside the glove. Perhaps he was right. An officer wrote in charcoal on a plank, "We no longer fight for the Reich. We fight not to rot alive." No one objected. In the shelter, rats are as big as cats. We do not hunt them anymore. They are our companions. They share our warmth, our food, and our dead. One of them died on the chest of a sleeping soldier. No one removed it. The night lasts for days. Time has disappeared. There is only pain, hunger, fear, and a drum beating inside the head. Survive, survive, survive. Letter of Dr. Heinrich Weber. Heinrich Weber was a military doctor assigned to the 76th Infantry Division. His letter, never sent, was found in an abandoned medical bag near the Volga. It describes the helplessness of a doctor without instruments, without medicine, without hope. I am a doctor who cannot heal. A healer who watches people die. Here in Stalingrad, my profession has become a cruel joke. They bring me wounded men every hour, shrapnel in the chest, limbs torn away, burns that have eaten the flesh down to the bone. They look at me with eyes begging for salvation, and I have nothing to give. No morphine, no clean bandages, no antiseptics, only dirty rags and empty promises. Yesterday, a boy grabbed my coat. He was 18. A grenade had taken both his legs. He begged me to stop the pain. I looked in the bag. Empty, completely empty. I held his hand as he died. It took 3 hours. 3 hours of agony while I whispered lies. Everything will be fine. We'll get you out. Hold on a little longer. We always lie, to the wounded, to ourselves, because the truth is unbearable. The truth is that we have been abandoned, that no reinforcements will come, that there is no salvation, that with each passing day we are closer to the end. I've stopped counting how many I've seen die. At first I closed their eyes, whispered a prayer. Now I don't even have the strength for that. I cover them with a rag and move to the next one. It's all I can do. The cold has made everything worse. Infections spread in hours. Wounds never heal. I've seen toes turn black and fall off. I've seen gangrene devour whole arms. I've amputated with rusty saws without anesthesia while men screamed and others held them down. There's a soldier here, Johann. He lost both hands in an explosion. Now he can't eat by himself, can't dress, can't do anything. He asks me why I saved him. He says it would have been better to let him die on the field. I don't know what to answer. Maybe he's right. Last night I cried. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I hid behind a collapsed wall and sobbed like a child. Not for the dead. I cry for the living. For those who will survive this hell only to discover they are already dead inside. If this letter reaches anyone, know this: war doesn't only kill with bullets. It kills the soul long before the body. And some of us keep walking, breathing, talking. But inside, we are already corpses. Dr. Heinrich Weber, 76th Infantry Division, Stalingrad, January 1943. The Diary of Wilhelm Hoffmann. Wilhelm Hoffmann served as a soldier in the 267th Infantry Division, part of the German 6th Army encircled at Stalingrad. His diary, preserved after the war, recorded with raw realism the final days of resistance under Soviet fire, extreme hunger, and psychological collapse. His writings were later used in documentaries and specialized publications. I can barely write these words without thinking of the cold that seeps even into thoughts. I am Wilhelm Hoffmann, soldier of the 267th Infantry Division. I don't know if this will ever reach anyone's hands. Since the end of November 1942, we've been trapped in Stalingrad. The 6th Army is surrounded. The ring tightens more each day with the roar of the Russians and the crumbling of our collapsing forces. This morning someone received a medal. They threw it at us like scrap. I'd keep it for nothing. It means nothing here, where all we have are the remains of horses to eat and skulls to use as frozen pillows. At the end of September we were confident. We believed we would capture the factories along the Volga. Some laughed, celebrated, the regiment advanced, but everything changed. In November, the great Soviet counterattack trapped us. There was no respite. Rations ran out. Morale hit the ground. Every morning we rise without a clear order, only with twisted stomachs and broken spirits. By the end of December, the horses became our feast. That's how it went. First hunger, then despair, and finally food. One man said he'd try cat meat. Others claimed it was tasty. No one objected. Survival was the only concern. One by one, half alive. I've seen men turned into shadows, dragging themselves as if the earth rejected them. I've seen others stop caring about enemy fire. Dying became easier than breathing. And yet we kept breathing, blindly, among ice and shattered rations. We built trenches with frozen corpses. The living no longer matter. Only the dead are useful. They block the wind, shield us from fire, and mark what's left of the horror. I write today because this must be seen, not as a historical detail, but as a warning of what war can do to body and soul. I don't know if I'll survive. I feel part of me died weeks ago. But if anyone reads this, know that we suffered, that horses were our last feast, that we became stone, that we turned the front into a living cemetery. And even so, yes, even so, we kept lifting our eyes with hatred toward the sky, asking why. Damn this war. Letter of Franz Keller. Franz Keller was an artilleryman in the 389th Division. His letter to his sister was never completed. It was found near a destroyed cannon, its last lines barely legible under frozen blood. Dear Greta, I write these words knowing you'll probably never read them. But I have to try. I have to believe that at least my thoughts can reach you, even if my body stays here, buried in the snow and ruins. Do you remember when we were children playing in the snow behind the house? You built snowmen, and I pretended to be an explorer in the Arctic. You always laughed at my imagination. You said I was too dramatic. How I wish you were right. How I wish all this were just a game of my imagination. But it's real, too real. The cannon I served was destroyed 3 days ago. A direct hit. I lost 4 comrades in an instant. They were blown apart like rag dolls. One of them was named Peter. He showed me a photo of his daughter the day before. She was 3. Big eyes and blonde hair like yours when you were little. We have no more ammunition. The guns are just frozen scrap metal. Orders come to fire, but with what? We're down to rifles and grenades, and not many. Every shot must count. Every mistake costs a life. Food ran out days ago. This morning I ate a piece of boiled belt. I'm not joking. Boiled leather with dirty snow. That's what we've become. Animals chewing anything to fill the empty stomach. I'm cold, Greta. A cold you can't imagine. It's not like winter at home. This is a cold that kills, that turns your fingers into black ice, that stops the blood in your veins. I stopped feeling my feet 3 days ago. I don't dare take off my boots. I'm afraid of what I'd find. Sometimes I think it would be easier just to lie down in the snow and fall asleep. They say it's a peaceful way to go, that you feel nothing, just a deep sleep. But then I think of you, of Mother, of Father, and I force myself to get up one more time. I don't know why I'm still fighting. Not for the Führer, not for Germany. Maybe just because I don't know how to do anything else. Or maybe because as long as I'm alive, there's still a chance, even if it's only in my imagination. If I survive this, even though it seems impossible, I promise I'll never be the same again. How could I be? I've seen things no human should see. I've done things no human should do. I've become something I no longer recognize. I love you, little sister. Whatever happens, always remember that. And if I don't come back, don't cry too much. Living here is worse than dying. At least in death, I'll finally find peace. Your Franz. The final testimony. The anonymous man from the grain silo. This testimony is based on literal excerpts from a diary found near the grain silo during the encirclement of Stalingrad. The writings reflect daily routine, urban combat, and brutal survival. They are preserved in Soviet archives that kept captured letters and diaries. I no longer know how many days have passed. I look at this notebook, searching for dates, but I find only dried blood, hunger, and fear. This encirclement doesn't kill with bullets. It kills with silence, with cold, with the illusion of taking a step no one records. I woke up not knowing whose body was next to me. We placed the rifle on him to sleep. The metal gave warmth, even from a corpse. In the morning, cold in my mouth, cracked skin, fingers like blocks of ice. Food is a legend. We boil snow to swallow mud. Patrols are no longer orders, but instinct. We walk through the ruins of the grain elevator, clearing walls with friendly fire just to stop hearing the Russians. The fight in the grain depot lasted 6 days. We counted only 40 Soviets. We found them dead inside, like roots buried in the walls. We lost dozens. That's when I understood that fighting didn't mean killing. It meant dying inside. One day I saw a comrade kill with an empty stare. He did it in a cellar full of dead and wounded. Then he surrendered, took off his helmet, and let a shard close his forehead. The sound of his skull bursting no longer shakes me. I write it down because if I don't record it, it never happened. The bullets don't come from afar. They whistle through corridors. The railway station changed hands 14 times in 6 hours. We heard shells whistle above our heads. And we whispered in broken voices, "Today, it's our turn." Snipers take your head off if you look out a window. Once I leaned out to see the enemy. I came back without my right eye. Now I write with my left hand. The world has changed. Most no longer fight with hatred, only with instinct. Writing is my escape. This isn't heroism, it's a warning. We bury them where they fall. If they are recovered, it's out of sentiment. There were no remains, only ashes. Today I ate bread covered in mold. I broke it into 5 pieces and shared it with 6 men. One looked at me and said, "We thought we'd be home for Christmas." I didn't answer. Every day I hope not to wake up. The war has stolen everything from me, except memory. If someone reads this, know that it was real. We didn't surrender because we wanted to. We surrendered because we were dying a little more every hour. Of the 91,000 men of the German 6th Army who surrendered at Stalingrad in February 1943, only about 6,000 ever returned home. The others died in Soviet prison camps, of hunger, disease, cold. Many were never identified. Their bodies still lie buried beneath the rebuilt city. The letters you've heard are only a small part of those written. Thousands of others were lost, burned, forgotten. But these survived, and they still speak to us today. They don't tell us of military glory. They don't speak of brilliant strategies or cinematic heroism. They show us what war truly means: cold that freezes your soul, hunger that devours you from within, fear that never leaves you, and the slow, inescapable descent into despair. These men were sons, husbands, fathers, brothers, sent into a hell of ice and fire, and most never came back. Those who survived carried those scars for the rest of their lives. Their words are a testament to remember, to never repeat the same mistakes, to understand that behind every war statistic there are thousands of individual stories, thousands of broken lives, thousands of destroyed families. Stalingrad was not a battle, it was an apocalypse. And these letters are the last voices crying out for us never to forget what we did to ourselves.